Hey everyone, Derek here from the Karate Channel and welcome to this series of Interview with a Sensei. In this one we catch up with Michael Dukas Sensei in Queensland, Australia, in the lovely town, seaside town of Noosa. He's going to share his lifelong story of training and competing and teaching karate around the world. So I know you're going to enjoy it. Before you start, please subscribe and like down below because it really helps the channel grow, and I hope to bring you loads more of these interviews with different senseis and karateka from around the world. Russ!
Bryan Dukas. I'm from Karate Noosa, beautiful Noosa, Australia. We belong to the WSKF, the World Shotokan Karate Federation. And welcome to my dojo. Let me show you around. Hey. Okay, so these swords were given to me by my father in 1988 on one of his trips from when he came back from Japan. So for me, very special. 1988. So this was given to me by Seiji Sugimoto Sensei in 1991 in Turkey. So Sugimoto Sensei actually won the award, this one, for the best competitor of the tournament. I was there just as a 13-year-old, 13, and after he won this, I was very honored. He presented it to me, so he gave it to me. So it's been very close to my heart since then. And so this is my father's old belt, very special, of course. So this is my dad's old belt, and on his last visit to Australia, he presented it to me. So for me, just holding it is, very special. And this is also very special. So this was given to me by very good friends of mine, Paul and Yuko Umezu, and this was their grandfather's, Yuko-san's grandfather, who was actually a very kind and generous man in Japan, who was presented a big award actually by the Emperor of Japan after World War II. He was a school principal and took in, I think, correct me if I'm wrong on the numbers, but around about 100 kids off the street, and looked after them and cared for them after World War II in his school hall. And he was awarded a big, beautiful scroll and some other things from the Emperor. And this is a protector of the dojo. So Yuko's family is a direct line from samurai, and when Yuko's grandfather passed away, grandmother said that this has to stay in a martial arts environment, and I was very blessed that they gave it to me. So it'll always be in my dojo. This is just a beautiful photo of my father and I, and the reason I like it is this was in 2013. In Japan, we were asked to give a family demonstration at the opening of the World Championships. And this photo was taken by a photographer who sent it to us. And the reason I love it is because everything is sort of just beautifully synced, you know. So if you look at the feet, the legs, the belts even in the same direction, the kanji on the gis, and the angle of the legs. So for me, it's just very special photo, and more importantly, just a special moment. I mean, how many people can say that they've had an opportunity like this with their father, and now recently with my daughter as well. So father and my daughter together, so it was magic. Old memories. Ibusuki Sensei. Ibusuki Sensei was a student of Funakoshi Sensei, so one of the last remaining students of Funakoshi Sensei. Him and I had a very nice relationship. I used to train with him. in Japan, and unfortunately he passed away, sadly passed away this year as well, so 2023 he passed away. Ibuski Sensei. Yeah, very special memories. Wow. Oh, passports. Young Kasuya Sensei. And here's Sugimoto Sensei. He was the first Japanese instructor I trained with in 1988. Became good friends and kept in contact all the years, and I was very honored that he actually came to say hello to me in Japan this year. So it was a wonderful reunion again, and I got to introduce my daughter to Sugimoto Sensei. So that was amazing. So here, this is a photo from the 7th All African Games, 1999, and actually I had a black eye at the stage, but because it didn't look good in the media, they tried to cover it up by making me wear glasses, but it didn't help much, as you can see. So, apparently black eyes in media photos doesn't look good. So. I started karate training in 1983 in South Africa. Obviously, I started karate training because my father, Mike Dukas, was doing karate and a karate instructor in the town we lived in. And so I started karate under my father in 1983, February 1983. At that stage, I was 5 years old. Training in my dojo in the early days, from what I can remember, was really good. As I got older, of course, training in South Africa was quite hard. Our senseis and senpais were very strict with us, but good, strict but fair. We trained hard, we worked hard, there's thousands of repetitions, it was good times. In my younger years, it was lots and lots of basics, just repetitions up and down, concentrating on the finer things. And when I was young, I think I didn't really appreciate the fine details of my sensei's training as much as I do now. Now I realize how important that actually was, and that made me the karateka I am today. Just the repetitions of basics over and over, working on the small little details. That was our youth, our training, just loads and loads and loads of basics, and then lots of basic kumite, ippon kumite, and the ju ippon kumite. Just hours of repetition. So I started training under the JKA, as everybody was JKA in that stage. Obviously my father was JKA, so his lineage, he did a lot of training obviously with Stan Schmidt Sensei and the legends of JKA. Then I'm unsure of the exact date, but probably around about 1987 or 88. I might be out by a year or two. My father joined Kanazawa Sensei and Kasuya Sensei. My father and Kasuya Sensei had a good relationship, and so he joined Kanazawa Sensei. And in 1990, when Kasuya Sensei started the WSKF, my father joined with Kasuya Sensei in the WSKF. In South Africa, there were a couple of things that changed, and we actually went. We joined JKA again, and I trained many years with the JKA. I think most of my late teens and early 20s, early 30s was with the JKA, specifically with Yahara Sensei. Then in 2011, there was a circumstance that changed in South Africa, and obviously my dad and Kasuya Sensei had stayed in contact a long time, and in 2011 we rejoined the WSKF with Kasuya Sensei, and loving the training. So in my early days, obviously my father was my most influential karate instructor, and being my father, you know, obviously I looked up to him a lot, and always try to copy him and try to you know, imitate his moves and be like, I want to be like my dad, you know, that was the goal. But apart from my dad, I obviously had many senpai that used to help me a lot. I was really blessed in my karate journey. And I think one of my senpai that really I might have to mention is actually a lady by the name of Paula Gouveia. Now, Sensei Paula was one of my most influential senpai. She used to train us, when I say us, myself and obviously my kohai, my peers that I used to train with. She used to train us really hard, and yeah, I really have to thank her and say, you know, thank you, Paula Sensei, for all the hours that you put into me, especially as a youngster, you know, between ages probably early teens. She spent a lot of time with me, just honing my technique and trying to get me on a good level, a good standard of karate. And it's really nice, you know, the circle goes round, and Paula Sensei is actually back in my home dojo in South Africa, training and helping instruct again in the dojo in South Africa. So I was really happy to see that. So before I started karate, obviously before the age of 5, I was quite sickly. My mom always reminds me that I have a weak chest, and she'll have a good giggle when she sees this interview. So I spent many days in and out of the oxygen tent, struggling to breathe. And I think once I started karate and started my physical exercise and physical training, my personal fitness and level really picked up. So I think I owe a lot to karate, not just in what I've achieved in karate or learned, but also in my own physical health. I think karate's done a lot for me. So with karate, we have obviously different aspects of karate, kata, kumite, and unfortunately nowadays it's become very fashionable for certain karatekas to just choose kata or just choose kumite. And I think I'm very lucky within my upbringing and my home dojo. We always, as competitors or as karatekas, always did both kata and kumite. Although saying that, most of our training, 90% of our training was just basics. So basics, repetitive basics, up and down, loads and loads of basics, basic and basic kumite. But saying that, I think that really shapes or develops people for good karate, good all-round karate, not just kata, not just kumite. I think I'm pretty lucky. I always, when I'm competing or when I used to compete, I used to compete a lot in kata and kumite, and enjoyed both equally. In saying that, to be honest, I was probably always the better kata person, although I did always like sparring a lot. When I was young, our sparring divisions worked a lot different to today, so we never had many weight categories, so normally just the year of birth, so I was always the smaller person in the division, but that was always good. I never shied away from a challenge, so I always liked to get stuck in there. Used to get beat up a lot, used to cry a lot, but yeah, through that we grow. But yeah, so kata and kumite, I think must go together for karate. So in my early 20s, I started competing more and more internationally, and I was lucky to compete for the South African national team over many years. In my early years, I started in Team Kata. From Team Kata, I was never good enough to be chosen for the national team for individual kata. We had some really high competitors in individual kata. I was in my young 20s, so I was part of a team kata. But then I used to compete for national team individual kumite. So individual kumite and team kata. So that was really good balance for me. having the team kata to work on, and then individually working on team kumite. In about 2001, I decided that I would really like to be part of the individual kata in the national team, because I'd represented South Africa as team kata and individual kata, individual kumite, and I really wanted to do represent my country at individual kata. So in about 2001, I started to concentrate more on individual kata, and then I was lucky enough in 2006 to get selected for the South African national team for individual kata at the WKF level. So that was really nice for me, having competed at WKF World Championships in individual kata, individual kumite, and team kata. And 1 year I was reserve for team kumite. Luckily, I didn't have to fight because the guys were monsters. So yeah, it was a special moment for me. So traditionally, many people think Shotokan karate is just linear, back and forth, back and forth. And I think maybe in many schools this might be the case. I think that we are lucky that especially with the WSKF, that Kasuya Sensei really has developed many spinning and rotational techniques. With the spinning techniques, obviously lots of benefits goes with that, not only the changing of angle, but being able to change angle and implying the same amount of force or same amount of power that you would be able to apply on a straight line. And spinning also obviously develops a lot of balance, coordination, but also uses muscles that you would not necessarily use in straight line forward and back training. So I think lots of benefits in rotational and spinning techniques. Apart from Kasuya Sensei, obviously I spent many years with Yahara Sensei, who does a lot of spinning techniques as well, and many benefits are shown if you watch Yahara Sensei doing spinning technique. There are many benefits to spinning, power output, etc. When I do self-training, I never train for tournament, actually, to be honest. So normally my self-training is just normally lots of basic training or physical conditioning. In my previous years, when I was younger, early 20s or so, I used to do tournament style training by myself, maybe kata or some kind of kumite technique, repetitive. But now I'm in my 40s now, so most of the time when I do self-training now, it's more just about my own physical condition. Maybe some lots of basic repetition, makiwara. I do makiwara once a week at least. Physical fitness training, so lots of maybe shadow boxing. Occasionally I do kata. Kata training normally if I'm feeling a little bit clouded in my mind or need some headspace, then I refer to kata training, and just clears my mind, and I feel good again. Ichigo ichie, ichigo ichie. Yeah, very nice saying. So I was first introduced to Ichigo Ichie in 2011 in Japan by Kasuya Sensei, and he was mentioning it, and he was saying that the philosophy of Ichigo Ichie. So Ichigo Ichie means for this chance, for this time only, never to be repeated. And in karate training, we should treat every technique as Ichigo Ichie. So, for example, I could do Gyakutsuki, but if I do another one, it's not the same. The feeling, the power, the output, every technique you do is different. So every technique we do, Ichigo Ichie. So treat everyone as the last chance, or different. So each technique is different and individual. I also like it in personal life. So obviously Ichigo Ichie in Japanese culture comes a lot from the tea ceremony, and the philosophy behind that is you only have one chance to make somebody a cup of tea for the very first time, or you only have one chance to meet somebody for the first time. So yeah, ichigo ichie. It's I really like the saying. Only one chance to meet somebody the first time, or only one chance to do this technique. The next time I do it, I can do 1,000. Everyone will be individual. So Kazuya Sensei explained, every technique you do, this is the last time you do this technique. You might do another gyakutsuki, but it's different to the one you've just done. So every technique treat as ichigo ichie. Yeah, so over the years I've trained with many great karateka. I've been really lucky and blessed with my karate journey. Obviously, I've had my father as my main influence in karate, and I was really blessed that his karate is pure. His karate is very technical, Shotokan, very correct, I think, in my opinion, very correct and beautiful Shotokan karate. So I've been really blessed with his influence. But my father's also had a really open mind to training, and he's always encouraged me to train with different instructors. So keeping my core, but never having a closed mind, always an open mind towards training. So I've had many friends and many other instructors influence my karate journey. In South Africa, I have to say that Norman Robinson Shihan and Malcolm Dorfman Shihan had lots of influence on my training. Also, Peter Brandon Hanshi from the Goju Kai. He was our national coach at the stage, and I've got huge amounts of respect for him. He influenced my karate, not just physically but mentally. The way he would prepare us for tournaments was really inspirational, and I hold him in high regards and high respect for him. Internationally, I think some of my main instructors that influenced me were obviously Kazuya Sensei a lot from a very young age, Yahara Sensei, Isaka Sensei, Asai Sensei. I was lucky enough to train with Asai Sensei on a couple of occasions before he passed on. Yahara Sensei was a huge influence on me. When I was because I trained most of my years training when I was between 20 and 30, for example, when you're really shaping as an adult. Spent many years with lots of training with Yahara Sensei and Isaka Sensei. It was great times. Spent some time, I used to go to Japan, spent some time in Yahara Sensei's dojo, sleep in the dojo, and train with him and his core of students who I'm still friends with today. So. And then lately, or modern now, I'm extremely lucky and blessed to have trained many times with Murakami Sensei from WSKF and also Kawasaki Sensei. Yeah, really lucky and blessed to have those instructors influence my karate. I think at the moment Kawasaki Sensei's karate is just phenomenal, and extremely lucky and blessed to have him influence my karate training. And of course, Andre Bartel Sensei, this is him here, and that's me getting a good kick. So yeah, Andre Sensei, in my opinion, is probably from the modern era the best Western karateka I've ever trained with him. I've been very fortunate to train with him on many occasions. I met Andre Sensei in Japan, and yeah, we just hit it off. So of course he's my senpai, but yeah, great guy. And yeah, been really lucky to train with him in Japan, also in Australia. I trained with him in South Africa as well. So we've trained on 3 or 4 continents together already. Fantastic karateka, in my opinion, the best Western karateka at the moment. So yeah, really fortunate to be able to train with him as well and learn so much from Andre Sensei. Looking forward to our next visit. Tokyo Kata, wow. Yeah, difficult choice. So obviously everybody knows me as somebody that does unsu in tournaments. Yeah, unsu started for me many years ago as a very young karateka. One of my senpai, John Peach Sensei, who's actually still training with my dad today, so 40 years later, still training with my dad. He was a young competitor in my dad's dojo, maybe early 20s at that stage. And I was a very young boy, and I always used to watch him do unsu, and I always thought, wow, I mean, that's so cool. One day I'd like to do that. So I think as far as unsu goes, probably Sensei John Peach was my inspiration for unsu. And then I started training unsu, and yeah, just felt good. But I think I really personally enjoy sorchin. I love to do sorchin. Just good feeling for me. But I think if there's one kata that's my favorite, actually Jion. Jion is, when I do Jion, I feel something special in my body. So unsu, probably unsu for competing in tournaments. Sorchin for myself, but Jion, I think Jion is, yeah, something special inside of me. And I think just because I've done it millions of times. So Jion, I think Jion is probably my favorite kata. Jion. Right, so Budo karate versus sports karate. It's a very touchy subject. Obviously, I was lucky, and so never really trained sports karate, even though my tournament history is wide. We never trained specifically for tournaments. Actually, in my younger days, we just used to train, and then my sensei would say, okay, next weekend you're going to a tournament, and we would be, oh, okay, we go to the tournament and go compete and whatever. So his philosophy was you should always just be ready to fight or ready to do a kata, so don't specifically train for one tournament. So as far as Budo karate goes, I think it's for me it's very important, and it's what I want to teach still today and try bring over to new generation. With Budo, I think the most important thing is respect for others. Respect for others, very, very important. Thinking about the other person, not just thinking about yourself. For example, it's very fashionable now and very sad to see, to be honest, in many tournaments now, where a competitor would score a point and celebrate on the, and celebrate on the floor, yeah. For me, this is no good. We should keep good form and stay humble. Even scoring good technique, it's okay. You don't have to celebrate on the floor. I think this is important for karate. In my opinion, I think karate is going to go in a circle where everybody used to do Budo karate or traditional karate, and veering around to sports karate with the influence of Olympics, trying to get there, everybody on a hype. And with karate out the Olympics, I personally think that people are looking, people want that Budo aspect, people want the martial aspects of karate, and I think you can only find that in traditional style training. So I think it's going to go back in a circle, and many dojos going back to Budo style training. As far as my dojo concerned, we will stick to Budo training. Even though I have many competitors, of course, we don't focus on tournament training, basic training. Many people don't like that, that's fine. But in my dojo, we do basic training. Okay, I think one of my proudest moments in karate was in 2011. I was fortunate enough to win the competitor of the tournament award at the WSKF World Championships in Japan. So that was obviously a good moment, but I think one of my proudest moments, or the proudest moment from that was we got home, or we got back to the hotel, and it was just my dad and I, and we got into the elevator, and as we were going up the elevator, my dad looked at me and he put his arm around me. It was very emotional. He put his arm around me and he said that he hopes that one day I'll have the feeling of my children giving me the proudness that he is feeling at the moment. And yeah, for me that's my most proud moment. All right, I think another really proud moment was actually this year, 2023 in Japan, when Kasuya Sensei asked my dad if him and myself and then my daughter came with me to Japan this year. So we were three generations of karateka in Japan at the same time, and we actually did a kata demonstration at the opening of the World Championships. That was really emotional for me, obviously being on the floor at the same time with my dad, my hero, and my daughter at the same time. So that was an extremely special moment for me. Yeah, often people ask me, what are you proud of in your career, your karate career? I think one thing I'm really proud of is I never made excuses not to go to training. Even as a youngster, I just always loved training. I loved going to training. So I never had to be told twice that you got to get ready for training or something like that. I was just always always keen to get to training. I don't know why. I just love it, and I think that's one of my proud moments. I've never made excuses not to train. On my year 12 graduation, we had the after party, and I was really jealous because I knew that my dad was going to a gashku in an area probably about 4 hours drive from where we lived. So I asked my dad if he could pick me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, straight from the after party, so I could go to the gashku, so I didn't miss the gashku. That was just my life. I loved training. So my dad picked me up 3 o'clock in the morning, got in the car, had a snooze, got to where we needed to be 4 hours later, brushed my teeth, got into my gi and did gashku the whole weekend, so yeah, I think many youngsters, like on their 18th birthday, for example, they wouldn't go to training because it's their 18th birthday. I was at training on my 18th birthday. I was at training on the morning of my 21st birthday. I even had training on my wedding day. So the day of my wedding, we first went to training, and I had training, and from training rushed home, had a quick shower, and tried to get to church on time. So missing training was never an option. Not because I was ever forced to train. It's just something I love doing. So I think I'm proud of that. Yeah. So personally, how did my karate change from moving from South Africa to Australia? It changed a lot, to be honest. So in South Africa, I always had my senpai and my sensei that I could lean on and go to for training. So my training, I used to teach, obviously I had my own dojo in South Africa where I was teaching every day. But at least 2 or 3 times a week after teaching at my dojo, I would rush to my father's dojo and train with him or some of my senpai at his dojo. And then Saturdays we would get together as the 2 dojos and train together. So I was always training with my sensei, with my senpai. When I moved to Australia, of course I was alone. I had no senpai, I had no sensei in Australia. It was just me. But saying that, I have to say a big thanks to the seniors that were training with me, especially Rick Hislop Sensei, who was always there with me. So what I would do is often try jump into one of his classes while he was teaching and do some training for myself. But since moving to Australia, I had to find time or more time to do personal training. So I think my personal training level picked up a lot since moving to Australia. So I of course always talking to my senpai and some of my friends. I often sometimes send a video of me training to my father or to some of my friends overseas, Peter Hunchy, I would send video, or even my friend Jody Young, send him a video and ask them to give me some feedback on my training. So yeah, thanks to those people that helped me as well. So karate into the future, how do I see it? I'm positive, yeah. I think as long as we keep training, keep the dojo kun, you know, and just try and install good values and good morals into the youth, and that's karate. You know, I mean, we all have to remind ourselves about that. Every one of us, you know, none of us are perfect, and we just keep striving, keep trying to do our best. So I think my job as a karate instructor now is to try teach karate the way my father and my senpai taught me, and keep that tradition. You know, Murakami Sensei said to me one day that we have a big responsibility, and that is to keep the traditions of karate alive. And I took that to heart, you know, and I really want to do that, you know. So my aim for my dojo and my students is we're gonna try to keep the traditions and the art of karate do, not just karate but karate do. We're gonna try to keep that alive as much as we can in this modern world. Okay, so I'm gonna so if I were to see two other karatekas that I'd like to see interviewed, yeah, I'd love to have an interview with my dad. I know he wouldn't agree, but yeah, we got to do it. All right. And then maybe two other modern karatekas. I'd like to have an interview with Kawasaki Sensei. I'd love to see him have an interview. And then I'd love to have an interview with one of my best friends, Jody Young. So yeah, that'll be interesting as well. We'd love to have an interview with Jody Young. And if I can mention one more, I'd love to have an interview with Peter Brandon Hunchy from Goju Kai. So if we could get him on board and have an interview with him, he would have some amazing stories. So that would be great.